And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Alright, it's time for another review today. If you remember, if you've watched my show, if you listened to my show over the last several years, you know that at the beginning I kind of poo-pooed abstract games. And even today I have kind of a thin level of contempt for games that pretend to be thematic but are really abstracts, but pure abstracts. Well, they're becoming something that's growing on me more. Initially I only had played chess. Now I've played a whole variety of these abstract games, and there's some pretty cool ones out there. Here's one we're going to talk about today called Coerceo. I just call it coerce for the English word that I'm assuming is the same thing, to force somebody else. And that's what this game is about, surrounding and capturing and being forced into a small position. It comes with really excellent little small pieces, little triangles. Let's take a look at them, and we'll be right back. This is the board made up of a bunch of individual hexagons that you can see attached very simply, and you attach them together so that you have a crisscross pattern of black and white triangles, and this starting configuration where you basically have 3 hexes of your color. So we're playing white versus dark, and basically one person takes a turn, and then the next person takes a turn. So for example, I can move this black piece to an adjacent spot. I can move the white piece to an adjacent spot. White pieces can only move to white spaces. Black pieces can only move to black spaces. What you're trying to do is you are trying to surround your other piece completely. For example, this white piece here, and this might be hard to see in the camera, so let's focus up. This white piece here has been completely surrounded by a black piece. So if I move here, the white piece is removed. I've captured it. However, if the white piece moves there, they are not removed. It has to be, the surrounding pieces have to be the one to move there to capture it. So sometimes you'll move into a position that is, completely, surrounded just to be safe for a while. Now, this can happen down here at the edge of the board too. If you're down here and a piece moves here, then you're surrounded, because you only need to be surrounded on 2 spots since the edge of the board, and you would be captured. Now, if you are the last person to move off a section of the board, and that section of the board has 3 edges free, like this one here, 1, 2, 3, that are all adjacent to each other, then that section comes off. And you'll take that section and place it in front of yourself. When you have 2 sections in front of you, instead of moving on your turn, you can simply discard both those sections, take any piece on the board, and just kill it. And this is a very handy thing because it does a couple things. One, it shrinks the board. So as the game progresses, the pieces are moving in, the board's getting smaller. But also, if you have in a position where it's difficult to kill somebody, you can always turn in 2 of these and get rid of somebody, changing the odds, hopefully, into your favor. The first person who eliminates all of the other person's pieces is the winner. So once again, on your turn, you can move a piece, take empty tiles, maybe capture pieces, or exchange 2 pieces and take them off. And like I said, the person with the fewest pieces or no pieces at the end is the loser, and the other person wins. Well, there you have the game. A couple things about the game. While I've said at the beginning, the pieces are great, the hexagons are nice and thick, and the triangles, the only problem with those little pyramid triangle pieces is they're not always the easiest thing to pick up. You're grabbing them by the top. It's just not as easy as cubes or spheres would be to grab. It's not a big deal, but just something I thought I'd throw in there. But other than that, high quality across the board. The game works well. At first, you're kind of flailing around like, what pieces do I move here? And all of a sudden, sections of the board start missing, and you start capturing. And in the middle, and near the end, it gets really interesting. Now, it is possible for the game to end in a stalemate, which is a little boring because you both have pieces. I don't know how common that is, but it really comes down, interestingly, you can be ahead and have more pieces than your opponent and look like you're going to win. But through clever maneuvering, you can move into positions, get the tiles, suddenly kill a few of their pieces, surround a few more, and come back. It has some very interesting mechanics of going back and forth. The idea that the board is shrinking is kind of forced on this, but I like the way it works here. There's another game that does something similar called Xerts, and I feel like this does it much better and is a little bit easier to comprehend. This is a game that's not difficult to understand. There's just a few simple rules. The rulebook lays out exactly what you can and cannot do with all your different movements. And there's a few minor exceptions about removing the tiles, but for the most part, it's very simple and easy to get into. So while this isn't the greatest abstract I've ever played, or even probably in the top 5, it is an interesting one, and I did enjoy playing it. That's Coerceo.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.